the final match potentially here for Reckful. He's going to have to reverse Soul Kill with his Paladin deck, a deck that he has already shown to Krip.
That's right, and this deck is pretty standard. I mean, we see a lot of Argent Protectors, Acidic Swampoos, Knife Jugglers, Sword of Justice, Divine Favor, True Silver Champion, Consecration Hammer Wrath. I mean, these are all pretty standard Paladin cards. There are a couple of things in there, though, that are pretty interesting. There's a one Lay on Hands. There is a single Young Priestess, too, which I'm a big fan of.
I like the Young Priestess card. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal card if you can keep it alive.
Right.
And in this situation, he probably could. Against something like a Rogue or a Mage or a Druid, it just dies immediately, which makes it ultimately useless. And speaking of ultimately useless, that hand is going immediately. Yeah. In the meantime, though, that's a pretty good starting hand here for Reckful. He might decide to toss something, possibly the Bloodsail Raider, in favor of potentially another card here, because he doesn't have a weapon in his hand.
Turn 1 coin Bloodsail Raider into turn 2 Argent Protector is not bad, though. I mean,
it's not terrible, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, it gives him a lot of possibilities, and he can actually throw on Scarlet Crusader right afterwards and be really just kind of sitting around with a lot of Divine Shield. And he actually takes all of them because he does have that Blessing of Kings as well to give one of those minions +4/+4.
Yep. All right, so Krip does have a few cards in his hand that are pretty good. He is, of course, also sitting on a 6-coster, which is less than ideal. Bloodsail Raider will be the immediate play right there with the coin. So the board control starts off in favor of Reckful. That was not a great pull for him at all. He knows that. And he may just elect to immediately Shadow Word Pain just to make sure that he resets the board. He can't let his opponent gain a good amount of momentum here.
Yeah, Argent Protector would have been really nice, but of course he makes the right move now. Hires a recruit and make sure that he gets a little bit of board presence at least.
Yeah, a second Twilight Drake comes into the hand right there. So that's, of course, the entire deck's worth of it. Like you said, didn't want to really play the Argent Protector. Harvest Golem comes out, which is pretty good. He does also have that Scarlet Crusader, which is not a terrible play either. So I can't see him, of course, shielding an Initiate. It makes little sense. So we'll see which of these he likes to go with. It will be the possibly Harvest Golem, maybe thinking about Scarlet Crusader, Harvest Golem.
Yeah, I think that's the right choice, honestly. He can go into an Argent Protector next time if he wants to make sure that it's just like a triple useful Harvest Golem, which is always awesome. Well, you would run into Spellbreaker here, though, in a second, though. That was a pretty timely draw.
Yeah, Twilight Drake's the best play here. There's no question about that. It gives him firm board control back. It's a good buff. There's a couple of Divine Favor sitting in his hand right there, which is not actually going to be that helpful. We do have a Hammer of Wrath up. We've got that Divine Shield potentially available there for the Harvest Golem, which will mean it kills the 1/1, but there's also the possibility of Kings.
I was about to say, I'd love the YOLO Blessing of Kings here, just to take out the Twilight Drake and keep this massive 6/3 Golem sitting around.
The Spellbreaker's in Krip's hand, though. I mean, we know it's there, and that's already a decent target for Spellbreaking. It becomes an incredible target for Spellbreaking.
You're absolutely right.
If the Blessing of Kings goes down on it. But we'll see what he decides to do. So he's thinking about that Scarlet Crusader there, which will work out pretty well. Funnily enough, it still doesn't put enough firepower on the board to actually kill the Drake, though. Yeah,
but next turn he can Hammer a Wrath and trade for it pretty efficiently with just the Scarlet Crusader, which is actually his best play right now. So we'll see if he goes down that route. I would love to see Scarlet Crusader into Hammer a Wrath next turn, though.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to deal with it and actually still have a minion alive at the end of it. He's thinking about Reinforce instead, though. And he may decide to go Argent Protector on the 2/2, but ultimately it wouldn't be the best of plays.
All right, no decisions quite yet. There we go, Scarlet Crusader, and then of course we'll set him up for a decent play next turn. Spellbreaker is available on Krip's side, but none are terribly obvious targets. He could honestly just throw up the Azure Drake and start slamming home for damage because he doesn't know exactly what his opponent has. Although, of course, that there always has to be the thought of Argent Protectors and things like Blessing of Kings, anything to be able to take that.
Well, we'll see the Holy Nova, which is the wipeout right there, and it gives the +2 health back. It does mean, of course, that little Golem is coming out, but I think that was a really good play for Krip, honestly. I have a feeling Reckful might have been a little bit worried that there was another Shadow Word Pain, which would have actually eliminated that 3/1.
That's right.
So that's why he was debating whether or not to actually play it. But what have we got? Well, Hammer of Wrath's going to come out, and then he's just going to trade, reset the board. He knows he's sitting on 2 Divine Favors, which is great, but he actually has more cards than his opponent right now, so ultimately it's not really going to help him.
No, we basically just reset, honestly. Yeah. But we're at the point now where the Paladin would have liked to have gotten a little bit more going in the beginning, so I do give the edge to Kripparrian right now, because all those expensive cards that he was accumulating, those Defender of Arguses, those Twilight Drakes, Spellbreakers, Azure Drakes, etc., he can start throwing those out every single turn now, and I don't know if this Paladin deck can catch up up to that.
Well, another one comes out, as you said. So you are right, though. The combination of stuff was required to get rid of that Drake. Ultimately, you want to be able to use one card. One card to get rid of one card, kind of in a decent scenario there. And we're going to see a Shielded Knife Juggler come out and the Bloodsail Raider. So now flooding the board, he already knows his opponent has burned a Holy Nova. So that's not a bad idea. Start to get a lot of creatures up and also burn down so you can then utilize your Divine Favor.
Let's see here. Temple and Fortune, not a terrible play. Spellbreaker, the best play, though, because that not only gets rid of the Divine Shield, but it also gets rid of the Knife Juggler's attribute. For those of you tuning in for the first time, and this is the first time maybe you've seen a Knife Juggler, what happens is it's a 3/2, and whenever you play a minion, it does 1 damage to a random enemy, and that could include the hero itself.
Yeah, it can be pretty nasty. Sword of Justice comes out for Krip, and he doesn't have any minions, which is Reckful. But it's a little bit problematic, but you can still summon an Initiate, so it's certainly not the worst thing ever. But really, he wants to try and empty his hand so that he can then use Divine Favor before Krip's hand gets too low for it to really be beneficial.
All right, so there are possibilities here. Sword of Justice into throwing in a recruit or something like that, and then attacking with the Sword of Justice onto the Spellbreaker and following it up with just the Argent Protector would help clear the board a little bit, but it still doesn't leave him in the best position.
Yeah, I mean, he can also Kings as well, and then he can just kill off that 4/4 immediately and still have a good shot beyond that. But it seems like he is going to then swing and kill that and just sacrifice the Argent Protector. I don't hate that. I think it's pretty good. The risk is against the problem is if a Shadow Word Death comes in, then he's in real trouble. And Shadow Word Death. All right, yeah, that can happen. It certainly can. But he does have the Argent Commander, which is a better play here because he's able to just eliminate that and keep his Shadow Word Death for later.
But here's the problem now. Because he's keeping more cards, of course, this Divine Favor is actually going to get better. So.
But, he needed a minion. He really needed a minion. He could lay on hands here, but then the Divine Favor is never going to be used, ultimately.
Right.
If he uses Divine Favor now, he basically gets 2 cards out of it, which is okay. Yeah, it's all right. He wanted better than that, but at least he pulls out a card, he gets an ooze, so he can utilize that there, and it will get buffed up quite nicely.
All right, well, see here he's going to do this, and he's going to make a recruit here in just a second. That's going to make a 4/3 Acidic Swamp Ooze and a 2/2 recruit. He passes the turn. He doesn't want to absorb 4 damage and just deal 1 right now. He'll do that next turn if he still has things on board to be able to finish off the Argent Protector.
Shadow Word Pain comes out, which he can use it to get rid of the 2/2, but he probably won't. And we're more likely to see a Temple Enforcer buff, I think, on that. And potential, we might end up seeing Defender of Argus next turn, but he's now going to use that to smack that, get it out of the way, heal it up nice and easy. If that stuff stays alive and then Defender of Argus goes in the middle, then things start to get really unpleasant really quickly.
All right, so let's take a look back at Reckful's side. As I'm very curious as to what he drew into here. Things are looking not great for him once again. Krip's Priest deck has proven to be very resilient this entire time. It's taken early advantage in this game too, and he's already up 2 games to boot. And it was just a Harvest Golem, which is cool because it's going to have it's going to become 3/4,
that's nice.
And he can Defender of Argus on top of it, and even throw in a recruit if he wants.
Yeah, I mean, he's thinking about Defender of Argus, and then suddenly he's like, oh, I might want a Divine Favor, though, and I don't have the mana to do that, so... Well, we'll see. You think he's going to go for it anyway, and then just play that Initiate, which unfortunately he's not going to get the buff, but the 3/3 goes into a 4/4, which is even better there. So this is not a bad spot for him to be in, ultimately, at all. He does the damage, and then he moves on.
That's right. Mind Control is certainly available, though, if one of these minions gets too big. Right now, he can favorably trade out against all of the taunts, but that is going to still leave 3 creatures on the board for Reckful, because that Harvest Golem will, of course, turn into a Damage Golem, a 2/1 at the end.
Yeah. Notice the stats line up here on these creatures for the Paladin, all in that sweet spot. 3s and 4s. The 3 might die to the pain, but the 4s are not high enough for death to actually come along and take it out. But now the Mind Control is in play. The 4/5 with the Death Rattle is a nice grab. Yes. It's not like grabbing a massive legendary, but it's pretty good regardless. And he's able to get favorable trades off with both of that, which leaves him with solid board control. And of course, he heals up his Temple Enforcer again.
Excellent
so,
turn.
Yeah, Krip's playing fantastic. There's no question about that. Lay on Hands is now definitely an option, but of course, it means he's going to get pounded again next turn. So
he can play Argent Protector and then Divine Favor after it for an extra card, but of course, he basically wastes the Divine Shield on the Argent Protector.
It's like, what does he value? Does he value an extra card more? Evidently, he doesn't. So he pulls a Consecration, not bad. At least it lets him get at that Argent. And a Quality and an Argent and a Consecration, not bad. He could pull that off next turn.
Yeah, I think he just has to accept that he's going to take damage next turn and then just wait in a
he's
Quality
got
Consecration.
I mean, he should be okay with that, really.
I agree, yes.
Yeah. ultimately that's fine, because that Equality Consecration combo basically wipes the board. It also gives him an extra turn to see maybe there might be some more creatures that build up there, which is even better. So thinking about attacking, I definitely don't agree with that, and there we go, he's on to the next one.
Oh, wow. Sun Fury Protection. We're going to have a lot of things with Taunt here in a second with that and
but this is great for
Defender
Reckful.
Vargas. Yeah.
It's great for Reckful. I mean, Krip has got to be thinking about it. Yeah, that combo is definitely a very powerful one. He's got to be thinking that the possibility is there.
That's right.
Like, why aren't you playing too many cards? What are you up to here? But he's going to have to play minions regardless as your Drake comes along. A second as your Drake comes out as well. He's pretty happy with that. And he's going to blow up the weapon, of course, which is nice. I mean, using the ooze to kill a 4 durability Sword of Justice is phenomenal. That's one of the best trades you can possibly get here. And he will do damage, and a lot of it. You know, we're looking at 14 here. The Lay on Hands will compensate for that somewhat, but I mean, that Equality Consecration combo is ultimately going to put Reckful back in a really good spot.
Well, I mean, he's got to play it next turn, wait for one more turn to play the Lay on Hands, and hopefully he draws into something which will help him to at least push his board out a bit further. He wants to force his opponent into starting to use removal spells and not just continuing to flood the board. Whoa, and actually,
I think he knows.
To be honest, though, if he would have known, he would have pushed through and gotten damage, because right now he's only done 4 damage as a result of this turn, and now once the Equality plus Consecration hits here, this is devastating to Kripparrian.
That's going to wipe the board completely, and Reckful just obliterates it. But consider a few possibilities here. You think, oh, you should do damage? Yes, but ultimately, if he hadn't gone for the minions, that would have left that combo there regardless, with Reckful actually having minions on the board. So, you may have considered that. I think perhaps he did. All right, so now things reset just a little bit, and Shadowword Pain is available to take that out. This is what you hold it for, to get rid of stuff like that. Don't kill 2/2 minions with it, kill 1/4s with interesting abilities. Sun Fury Protector comes out here, just gives taunt to one thing, and then, well, what's a taunt without another taunt? Double stuffed taunt coming out here from Krip, and there's the heal, and he gets board control back nicely.
Yeah, a very, very cost-efficient play there for him. Lay on Hands is going to be able to draw some cards. Consecration comes out one more time, but unfortunately, it's not going to kill as much as he would like. It would leave a 3/2 and a 3/1 on the board.
Yeah, he's going to have to basically use his turn to Lay on Hands, and that means he's going to get 3 cards. He's going to go back up to 28 health. Actually puts him slightly in the lead there, and he puts him with the card advantage as well, but he just ceded control of the board entirely for a while.
That's right. But if that card advantage can kick in, he's actually doing all right. Holy Nova's not terribly useful against just a 1/1 minion and a 28 health Paladin. So he does the right move. He pulls the Azure Drake, draws another card.
Great.
And he can draw another card.
Yep, excellent. Absolutely. So that card advantage is kind of rapidly disappearing. The second Mind Control comes into the hand right there. There's nothing really scary that he wants to do that to right now, but now he's going to just be able to start doing damage. He wants to make sure there's nothing left on the board, and you've got to do that against a Paladin because the risk of kings is too high.
Yeah,
you can't even leave small minions on the board, because if they then get kinged and then he just attacks with that, then that's a lot of damage done.
He is at least sitting on a I'm sorry, not Hammer of Wrath. We just looked at the card draw there from Reckful. He was sitting on a Shadow Word Death, so he had the ability to deal with some of those high damage minions if it came to it. Right now, making the right move again. He's just going to kill out this Argent Protector. He draws a card. He's got 2 True Summer Champions available. Yeah,
it's time to start swinging. He's going to take down the 3/4 here, nice and easy. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. He'll play an Initiate because he has no other choice than end the turn. He's still ceded board control, but he's starting to clear it out a little bit. And there are currently no creatures in Krip's hand. Let's see if he pulls one from the top of the deck.
Let's see now. That is pretty critical, because Reckful is going to have an opportunity to make his way slowly back into this. Injured Blade Master is very nice, though, because he can heal that back up very quickly. He doesn't have to worry about healing himself at the moment. He can actually take out the 1/1 recruit with his 1/2 Novice Engineer. No, we actually go straight for the Holy Nova to make sure that this Injured Blade Master is as strong as possible.
I really like that, because he also did 1 extra damage as well by using the spell power. And here's the thing, he knows he's got a Mind Control, he's got a Holy Fire. Anything that gets his opponent down as low as possible puts him in a good spot.
All right, Knife Juggler is the draw. Now, certainly, Reckful can swing in, take out that minion with Taunt. He does have Consecrate available. Unfortunately, not the same Equality Consecration combo that we saw before to completely wipe the board. A lot of Shattered Sun Clerics, Imp Masters, but nothing that really jumps in and just takes control of this board back.
it's not a good hand for him. It really isn't right now, because he's already taken a lot of damage. He also knows his opponent is sitting on things like Holy Fire to be able to do that kind of direct damage. He's trying to think, how on earth can I possibly get out of this? And ultimately, it's going to be very difficult for that to happen. With the mind control in the hand of the Priest, even if he pulls something crazy, it could end up in the hands of Kripp, and then that would be a 3-0. But there's no question that he's in a really tough spot right now.
He had a possibility of consecrating there and then throwing minions on to see if they would take down one of the larger ones. As it stands, though, he doesn't really get a lot of board presence, and he didn't kill any additional minions there. Looks like he will finally go after this Injured Blade Master.
I like that. That was the best he could have possibly done. That was actually a really great turn from Reckful right there. But he is still on 8 health, and that is risky. Holy Fire is there. Mind Control is available. Lethal damage is right there.
He has Holy Fire. That's it. That is a 3-0 for Kripparrian, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to move into the finals to face Artosis. And what a stomp there, honestly. Kripparrian's deck just looks amazing.
The Priest is pretty good, and funnily enough, he didn't even rely on mind control, but the threat of mind control was a big deal there. He did incredibly well, and he will be going on, of course, to face Artosis in the final. And we are talking about 2 players that have only shown 2 decks each, so mystery is still afoot.
That's right. I'm really interested to see, especially how that Warrior deck we saw out of Artosis is going to be able to match up against Kripp. Kripp was running a Priest, a Paladin, and a Mage. The Warrior deck has not been seen against any of those yet, and I'm very excited for that possibility.
That Warrior deck is awesome. It's really, really good. And the Priest deck, as we've said, is very strange. So I'm looking forward to getting a chance to see that. And hopefully it will go all the way to 5 games. We have seen an awful lot of 3-0s so far. We've seen some really strong decks. And once they start to get momentum, they're pretty difficult to deal with.
And we have not actually seen a 3-2 yet, as a matter of fact. All 3-0s and 3-1s, but there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be your finals. Kripparrian versus Artosis. It will again be a best of 5. It will again be the same rules that we talked about before, where each player will bring 3 decks to the table. Once they lose one, it is out. Once all of your decks are gone, you are eliminated. Now, Artosis has found himself in a position at finals at a large esports event many times.
He has. He's found himself in the finals a good number of times. He has not necessarily found himself on the top of the winner's podium.
No.
So it would certainly be nice for him. He turns up to cast a StarCraft event and then ends up winning a Hearthstone tournament purely by accident. That could potentially happen there, but, well, we will see. He would still have to make his way through Kripp, which is difficult enough in and of itself. We've seen his decks are incredibly potent, and we're also talking about 2 players who actually have not made a single bad judgment call in this entire series.